Thank you. Good evening and welcome. I think there's a little bit of sound adjustment here. I'd like to welcome each and every one of you. I'd like to call this public hearing slash regular school board meeting of the Board of Trustees is June 21st, 2021. The it's a regular and a public hearing. It's a regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. Um, we will have Mr. Contreras come in a little bit late, but this time, Madam Secretary, would you do us the honor of calling roll?
Mr. Contreras, name your right. Ms. Manuel Webb. Present. Excuse me. Ms. Haynes. Here. Mr. Messon.
Here.
Mr. Rosenfeld. Oh, good, I missed it. Mr. Smith.
Present.
Myself. Sir, we have quorum.
Thank you. Let the record show that we do have a quorum of board members and that this meeting was duly called and posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. We will have opening ceremonies, first with a moment of silence for personal reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Again, we will follow our agenda. We are, we have just had opening ceremonies. We have, I didn't get a list of anyone wanting to speak as citizens. Okay, so we'll go into the public hearing. Again, item 6 on the agenda. Public hearing for budget and tax rate, Amy Childress. Yes. Mr. Contreras joined, just for the record. Welcome, Mr. Contreras. Make a note of that, Madam Secretary. Yes, Amy.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. This evening before you, we have a public hearing on our 2021-2022 executive budget. Items we will be reviewing this evening are budget compliant, our budget projections, which include our certified values and our attendance projections, and our executive budget, which incorporates our general fund, debt service, and our food service budget. Texas Education Code, sections 44.001 through 44.006 contain procedures and requirements for adopting the budget and the tax rate. The publication of our notice of the budget and proposed tax rate meeting was published on June 9th and June 10th on the 8:30 Times and the Uvalde newsletter. Tax Code, Section 26.04, and CCG Legal are local revenue sources for ad valorem taxes. The board may levy, assess, and collect annual ad valorem taxes for the maintenance of the district's schools. By August 1st, or as soon as thereafter as practicable, the taxing unit's collector shall certify an estimate of the collection rate for the current year to the governing body. For the 2021-2022, our preliminary values that we received, the freeze adjusted taxable are $2,225,762,184. This represents a 5.4% increase to the 2020 certified taxable values. Because we are changing our fiscal year to end June 30th. We are using the estimated values at this time. The 2021 certified values will be released by July 25th, which we will use to then adopt our tax rate later in August. Currently, we are using, for budget purposes, a tax rate, M&O tax rate for the general fund of 0.970100, with projected tax collections of $23,686,637. One of the important components in calculating revenue is our attendance projections. In our FEB legal is the policy for our attendance accounting. The district shall maintain records to reflect the average daily attendance as required by the commissioner. The average daily attendance is a component of calculating the foundation school program. And of course, enrollment provides the basis for staffing. However, the ADA is the basis for computing state aid. The correlation between the two is very important. And as you can see, over the last couple of years, our enrollment and our ADA has been on a steady decline. I will note that for 2020, 2021, the actual ADA at this time is 8980. However, the district did qualify for the full year for the hold harmless, and our ADA will be calculated at the 9369.883. However, for 2021-22, at this time, there is no hold harmless being planned. So we are planning with the actual ADA of the 8980. At this time, we will review our executive budgets. The first one we will review is our general fund. The general fund is the main operating fund of the school district. It is a governmental fund used to account for transactions from ongoing operations and activities and a variety of revenue sources. The most significant source of revenue for the general fund are state funding and property tax receipts. We also have additional revenue sources, which include proceeds from the rental of school facilities, the extracurricular preparation fee charged to secondary students, athletic gate receipts, federal sources, and interest earnings on investments. The general fund portion of the tax rate is 0.9701 per $100 of the taxable property value. This proposed tax rate reflects a change from the 0.9927 tax rate that was set for the 2020-21 year. One of the largest components of our general fund budget, of course, is our salaries. This year, administration proposed a 4% general pay increase to the midpoint, as well as a district contribution increase to the health insurance plan, which provides a total increase of salaries and benefits of a 6.9% increase. The total for the 4% increase was $2,866,774, along with the insurance contribution of $1,440,000, results in a total increase of $4,306,774. Again, on the health insurance fund, the annual contribution will increase from $6,696.96 to $7,725.36 for the 2021-22 year. That equates to about a little over $1,000 per employee a year. The annual contribution will start in July. The district increase will start in July, and our self-funded health insurance plan starts January 1st of every year. Options that we are continually considering are the offer of a no-cost insurance plan, conduct evaluations of contributions, and implement a wellness rate program to incentivize wellness participation. brings us to our revenue and expenditures for our general fund for the 2021-2022 fiscal year. We are proposing total revenues of $95,948,383, with expenditures of $106,714,102. This crosswalk, as you can see, 79.5% of our budget is in salaries. 7.3% is in professional contracted services. 4.6% is in supplies. 3.1% is in miscellaneous and travel expenditures. 4.5% is in debt payments, and 1% is in capital projects. For our debt service, the debt service fund, also called the interest and sinking fund, is a governmental fund that is used to account for the accumulation of property tax revenues for the payment of long-term debt principal and interest. For the 2021-2022 year, we are proposing an INS tax rate of 0.057, which would generate revenues of $1,624,586, with proposed expenditures of $1,658,500. And for our food service fund for the 2021-2022 year, we are proposing a revenue budget of $5,284,524, with expenditures of $5,113,190. So when we bring those three together for our executive budget for the 2021-2022 year, we are estimating revenue of $102,857,493, with expenditures of $113,485,793. That's all I have for you.
Public comments? Anyone? I guess we have no public comments from citizens. I just want to say that it is crucial that we have ADA for this coming year. We will not have that whole harmless in place, so Dr. Rios, everything that can be done to make sure that we find these students, and I don't know what else we could ask for, but we have personnel in place to go and make home visits and turn documentation in to make sure that our students that do miss, especially at the beginning, will come in as soon as possible so we can, again, have good ADA from the different campuses. And this year was kind of very difficult. As I mentioned throughout the meetings, Cardwell always came last, but this year it came first. And so they did everything to bring the students in and had good attendance throughout the year. We hope that that does happen with the secondary schools. I know elementary does a very good job, but there is a concern for those students that were not located either on whether virtual lessons or face-to-face. So, Dr. Rios, I don't know what else we can do.
Espresso, the good news is that we plan the budget according to the worst case scenario. And the expectation is that it gets better. But we will be providing to the board a weekly update as to the increased enrollment and apprise you of our efforts to locate students who were enrolled this year or even the previous year, but for whatever reason may not show up in August. Should that present itself, we'll be very aggressive. But I trust that within the first 3 or 4 weeks that we make the report on our enrollment, we will be able to see increases over the past year.
Will you be getting enrollment figures daily from the different campuses for the first 2 or 3 weeks?
Absolutely.
Okay, just to make sure that we have the proper count for each of the elementaries and secondary as well. Well, there being no citizens' comments or public comments, I'm sorry, we will adjourn the public hearing unless there is a question from any board member. No? So we'll adjourn the public hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And again, I just want to thank all the board members again for throughout the meetings that we had for our budget, and it's so good to provide that 4% increase for salaries. As Mr. Overhill mentioned, this is something that is going to help out everyone. And we were toying around with the idea of 2 or 3 or 4%, so we were able to provide that 4%. And a note of interest that the insurance costs keep going up every year, and eventually that cost will be passed on to the employees. We're able to do something this year, but soon after, you might have to, again, extend that cost to the employees because of the premiums. Again, they keep going up, and every year we seem to contribute more and more from our budget. So with that being said, we'll go on to the next item with the regular board meeting, and that is item number 8. We will have reports, end of 2020, 2021 school year update. Ida Gomez.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. Tonight, we will give a brief presentation on our summer school and retentions for the end of the school year. Summer school started 2 weeks ago for elementary and last week for high school. I should say elementary and middle school 2 weeks ago. So we're moving right along. The presentation will include the elementary, middle school, and high school numbers. The next slide is actually going to show you the number of retainees in elementary, and it'll also show you the number of participants, the students that are actually coming to classes. The elementary criteria shown on the following spreadsheet in red, which is the page behind the one that I'm discussing. If a student did not pass ELA and math content for the 2021-2022 school year, that means on their report card, if they didn't pass and they had more than 60 absences, that was an automatic retention. If one of those criterions was met, then they looked at still developing in more than 70% of the text KIA or TPRI, and or did they pass that approaches the reading benchmark or the math benchmark. So if they met the first two, it was an automatic retention. After that, it was a combination of the three. After that, we had some students who qualified for a June program and some students for a June and July program. If you remember back in early April, all the campuses had a huge push to try to bring as many students back face to face, and our numbers did increase drastically. So therefore, for the June program, if a student met 3 or more of the following, they did qualify for that attendance. If they passed their math and ELA content, and they had between 19 to 34 absences, if they were still developing in more than 30% of the text KIA or TPRI, and if they did not pass that approaches the reading and math benchmark, those were the 5 indicators that the principals took into account. If a student met 3 of them, they qualified for the June program, only because they did pass the math and reading at that point. If you look at the June and July program, again, the student had to meet 3 of them to qualify for the extended program. In this case, however, a student did not pass math or reading. So right off the top, I didn't pass math or reading, And I had to have absences between 35 and 59 absences. Just like the other one, it did indicate still developing in more than 50% of the text key RT-PRI indicators, and there was not a passing score with a reading or math benchmark. That summarizes the criteria that was used. The next slide does show the kinder through 5th grade enrollment. Then it shows the number of students. So for instance, in 1st grade, in our district, we have 681 students. We had 23 students who qualified for that automatic retention. They met the criteria. We also had 54 first graders and 51 that qualified for June and 51 that qualified for June and July for a total of 105. You'll notice that in kindergarten, we don't have any retained students because our district policy states that we do not retain kinder students. However, you'll see that we do have 111 kindergarten students participating in the summer programs. In 2nd grade, we had 20 students who met the retention criteria, and we have 97 students who are participating in either the June and July program. In 3rd grade, we had 8 retentions with 89 students in our programs. In 4th grade, we had 13 retentions with 95 students in our summer programs. And in 5th grade, we had 6 retentions, and that should say 113 students in our programs. Again, the retention criteria is listed below. Now we get into middle school, and it's a little different. The middle school principals did develop a rubric. At San Felipe Memorial, they used a rubric based on points. If a student earned less than 20 points, that was an automatic retention. Students with 20 points or more points were recommended for summer school based on the following. If a student failed 2 core areas, they attended only in June. And if a student failed 3 or more core areas, they attended June and July. The rubric included final grades in ELA and math, attendance, star performance on the 2019 assessment, the last one that they actually took, and special program participation. The special program participation would include students that are in dyslexia, students that are in special ed or bilingual. They gave them points because, again, we have to take into account that there might be support that's needed. At Del Rio Middle School 7th and 8th grade, students who failed 4 content areas were retained. You'll see those on the next slide. And they did follow the same rubric type that San Felipe Memorial did for students who failed 2 or 3 core subjects. And they did review individual students for consideration. You'll see here that for San Felipe Memorial, they have 715 students with 10 students who were retained automatically. We do have 129 that are currently in the program. At 7th grade, we have 769 students with 21 students who have been retained and 136 students who are in the program. And at 8th grade, we have 667 students. 44 students were retained. They will be attending blended in August, and we have 146 students in the program. At high school, it's not a retention situation. It's more students do not have their credits to be classified as sophomores, juniors, and seniors. This year, you'll see the 4 high school areas or campuses. For the June EOC, which we begin testing tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday of this week, we currently have 141 freshman students that will be retesting, 188 at Del Rio High School, 78 at Early College, and 38 at Blended. They'll be testing this week. For the actual June recovery program, where the students come in to recover credits that they haven't earned, we do have 248 students participating at freshman, 408 at Del Rio High School, 148 at Early College, and 102 at Blended. Now, you'll see that the June recovery counts are to be determined. The principals and the teachers, we do have a full staff at all those campuses, are working very hard to see how many students can actually earn their credits in June and not have to return in July, but the camps will be open. Aside from the summer programs for students who need credit recovery or possible placement and promotion, trying to earn those grades, we also have some additional summer programs going on. At Early College High School, we have 274 students that are attending the TSIA camps. Those are the summer bridge camps where they come in for 2 weeks at a time. They get some instruction before they actually have to take the TSI test. We have 125 that are incoming freshmen that are participating, and 149 that are current students that are still pending an assessment. We also have a strong bilingual program going on next door at Garfield. The mandatory program for incoming kinder and incoming first grade bilingual students. We do have 18 incoming kinder, and we have 47 first graders who are participating. In addition to that, we were able to hold an acceleration camp for current first through fourth grade students. So current first graders participating are 41 students, in second grade 21, and third grade 20, and in fourth grade 18. All of these students did pass. They all passed their courses. They did not qualify for the promotion or lack of promotion program. This is actually an accelerated camp. They did pass, and the criteria is very specific. You had to have passed within a 70 to an 84 to qualify. And Irene Cardwell also has 126 pre-kindergarten students attending their summer program. So as you can see, many campuses have students. We do have transportation, food services, our special ed, our dyslexic program has a small group. So a lot of accelerated instruction and trying to close the gaps this summer going on. That concludes the presentation. Are there any questions?
Questions from board members? Yes, Mrs. Webb?
And I don't know whether you can answer this or the principals might be able to answer it. For the Rio Freshman, what was the total enrollment? 800 and something? It doesn't have it on here. It just has that we have 389 students participating in credit recovery. But what was the total enrollment for that campus? I know it's over 800.
Because of Early College High School, I believe it's less than that. It's probably closer to 600,
Okay.
but I don't have that. I'm not sure if Ms. Villarreal is here.
No, she indicated she was working on testing. She'll be late.
Yes, sir. So
And,
I don't have that exact number, Mrs. Guanajuato, but I can
No,
definitely.
that's okay, because I was trying to calculate, if we have 600 students and we have 389 in credit recovery, that's quite a few students that didn't complete their credits. And I'm asking the same question for Del Rio High School, because they have close to 600 students that didn't complete one or more credits. So I think that the high school probably has, what, 2,000, over 2,000 students?
That's
Not
about
counting
correct.
early college,
That is about correct.
so.
The first row are the students who had to come back and retest.
Mhm.
They do have their credits. They did not pass their actual EOC test, their end of the year test. So it's actually the second time they're going to test. They tested in April or May, didn't pass, and we do have 141 at freshmen. They might be taking the algebra one, the English one, or the biology. Same thing at high school, early college, and
The
blended.
same thing.
I think at blended, ma'am, it's going to be the eighth graders for the most part also.
Yeah, because it'll be interesting to see after the summer program is over, how many of these students actually passed these classes after going through credit recovery. And the way I look at it, none of these students should have to go to credit recovery. They should all be able to complete their credits during the year. You know what I mean? Credit recovery should be only in case of an emergency, something happened, you couldn't complete it for whatever situation at home. But not because they just don't want to complete assignments or come to school, or whatever the case is, because that's just too many students not completing their assignments. Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone else? Of course, this was a critical year. My biggest concern, Ms. Gomez, is, when we have, let's say, 44 retainees at 8th grade, to make sure that, because of space and number of students that would not be moving forward, that we don't overcrowd the campuses with retainees. There's some others, first grade it's got over 20 students, and so that is worrying, because I hope they continue attending summer school and receive, the everything that they need to move on, to be able to be successful with, going to second grade and so forth. But when you retain students, it makes it difficult for us to be able to provide facilities for a large number of students like that remaining at that campus. Of course, they would be moving to blended, but
The 8th graders.
even
yes,
that, just, it's a big number to start with. Dr. Rios?
Just one point. So for example, the slide that she now has up there, it shows 23 students being retained. So for first grade, that's 23 students being retained over 8 campuses. So it does make it a lot more bearable. Now, across the board, when you take your retainees in first through 5th grade, then you might be adding an additional 20 to 25 students per campus. But this makes it a little bit bearable. But what we'd hope is that of the 105 students, 105 first graders that are getting to go to summer school, that those 105 don't add any more to the 23 that are already being retained. So we'll stay focused on the summer school attendance to make sure that the students are participating.
Again, there were a lot of students for different reasons that were not able to connect, with virtual lessons or attend face-to-face. So we're hoping that the programs that are available are well attended, and of course, that they finish out the days. But thank you for information. Anyone else with a question? Thank you very much.
yes, sir. Thank you.
Continuing on reports, next item is 8B, facilities report. Let's hang it.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, members of the board. For the facilities and construction report tonight, we will take a look at projects at Del Rio High School, the stadium track replacement, and Del Rio Freshman Campus. We'll have conversation about the restrooms renovation as well as White Steel's renovation. Buena Vista Elementary, the entryway and main office renovation. New elementary campus, project status on where that project's at right now. Special education department, renovation and relocation. Transportation department, to include the fuel distribution system, and district roof repairs. Both contracts as far as TPO roofs and non-TPO roofs. For the Del Rio High School stadium track replacement, the work is scheduled to start on 6/21, complete track removal on 6/25, with a complete base installation 7/7, and the spray itself will be completed on the track on 7/15. We have conceptual drawing there of what that's going to look like as this project progresses. I'm sure we'll have some photos to show for updates on that. The Del Rio Freshman Restrooms, we do have a meeting scheduled this week to meet with campus leadership to review the plan. We have received bids, and we will be bringing that to the board later on for approval on the general contractor. And these are tentative dates based on board approval starting on 6/24. It includes the contract approval, required document submittals, building permits obtained, work begin and potential work completion of 1/28 of 2022. This will be for the 3 remaining restrooms that we've not been able to work on thus far. The freshman campus life skills renovation is still moving forward. We're looking at the windows and door installation being completed around 7/23 of 2021. The new clad installation on 8/20, the clear story installation on 9/3, and that would complete phase 1 by 9/24, and then we would enter into the interior work, also known as phase 2. We have seen some delays due to shortage of materials, longer lead times than normal, so. But we're working directly with contractor as well as the architect to keep that project on track as much as we can. Buena Vista Elementary, we should start demo in that area by the end of this week. The abatement took place last week for it, and I believe we're waiting on the sign-off document now to say that we can move forward with the demo portion of that project, and we have the dates listed in here as well as far as what the expectations are on when the different areas are going to be completed. Right now, we are projecting substantial completion on this project by 8/6 of 2021. The photo here also outlines in dark blue the areas that are going to either have walls erected, relocated, or reduced in size to be able to allow for the new workspace for that main area. The new elementary campus, at this point, we do have a lot of land moving out there right now. A lot of the material is being removed in preparations for the future foundation that's going to be taking place. We included a couple of photos here to kind of show the progress of it. They're just moving a lot of trucks right now and getting the land ready and prepped for the upcoming work. We are looking at a completion of 5/27 of 2023 on it. This next photo here does show a easement that we'll be bringing to the board later tonight in 2 agenda items. It's for a AUP utility easement in order to get power brought to the property that the school district owns. The properties in question, I don't know if the mouse will show it, but there's this red section here coming down off of Los Campos and then coming across, and then the school's property is this acreage down here. Again, we'll be bringing that to the board tonight for hopeful approval, and then we can move forward. Special Education Department, all permits have been received at this point. We are in the process of drywall, tape, and float. We do have interior painting, new flooring, fire alarm system, and then ultimately relocate the Special Ed Department to the new building. As you can see the photo in the upper right-hand slide, we do have the parking lot completed at this point. It did receive new asphalt, and the striping's been done. Parking blocks were going in today, as well as a new wheelchair accessible ramp to the left of the building. And we're looking at a tentative substantial completion date of 8/2/2021 on that project. The fuel distribution system, that's moving forward. At this point, we do have the new fuel tank in place. They are in the process of erecting the old one out of the ground and hooking up all of the utilities that are going to go out there for the sensors and the pumps. There's a photo here to show the concrete that was poured in at the trench that they had to make from the main building out to the new tank. And we're projecting completion on that project around 7/12 of 2021. The TPO roofing repairs. This is also another agenda item that we have coming up later on. After these, a couple of months back, I believe we received the approval to move on a couple of contracts for both TPO and non-TPO repairs. Since then, we have had some storms that have given us indications that we needed to go back and look at that plan again before initiating it. In doing so, we did find some areas that did receive a lot more damage than what we originally anticipated. So what we've done at this point is, in the slide here on the left-hand side, it shows the locations that were in the original contract. And after going back and meeting with the contractors and reassessing the damage that was received from the original storm, we did make some modifications to it. So in the case of the TPO roofing repairs, we are looking at adding Del Rio Middle School portion of the 8th grade roof into the contract. There is an increased cost for that one because of the square footage. The non-TPO roofing repairs, again, the original contract amount, it's listed over here on the left-hand side, and then we went back and made some revisions. So there is a savings on this contract. However, that money will get rolled back in to continue to do repairs where needed. Questions?
Board members? I know that there's an easement coming up later on, that we probably won't have questions, so I guess we can save it till then. But anyone else? I think everything looks good as far as progress. I passed by a couple of these and it looks great. I think the new school, they've done a lot of work there. Same thing with the fuel system. Everything's coming together. So we'll save our questions when we come to the easement.
Thank you.
Thank you for that report. Next report that we have is item 8C, food service update. Amy Childers.
Good evening once again, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. Later this evening, we do have an action item for the renewal of our food service management contract with SFE. So this evening, we do have Mr. Matt Haas with SFE to give us a short presentation for the year.
Good evening, Dr. Rios, President Mesa, members of the board. My name is Isa Lagarza. We have Chef David Gonzalez and Matt Haas with us. We will be presenting an overview of the food service department.
Okay, so this year, the United States Department of Agriculture, Texas Department of Agriculture provided flexibilities for us to provide meals, and these are the flexibilities that we were able to get this year. And then we operated grab-and-go sites in persons and student feedings for this year. And then, as you could see, here is our weekly average meals before COVID. It's, as you could see at the bottom, so there are the dates, and then the service for this school year.
Here are some pictures of different events we hosted during the school year to promote good eating for students. Thanks to the flexibilities, we were able to provide over 200,000 holiday and weekend meals for children in the community. Our cafeteria teams worked really hard to keep holidays as normal as possible for the students. And in partnership with the multimedia department, we continued the good eating series to reach out to the community. So we have Chef Hollywood, you might see him around on Facebook or something.
And then here are some of the grants that we received dating back to 2017 through our current school year, which this year we received $55,000 for equipment. And then the financials, we are estimated to have a surplus this year. And then the Department of Agriculture will be reimbursing the school district for some funds lost during the COVID-19 pandemic for the early stages. And then here we just have the monthly trainings that we had to give the staff each month in order to meet compliance. And then we would like to say thank you for us for buying this serving line for Lonnie Green.
The Seamless Summer Option Program will be extended for the following school year. This will allow all students in the district to eat for free. The Texas Department of Agriculture is recommending we increase student and adult meal prices by 10 cents for the upcoming school year. And here are some pictures of the events that we hosted this year to promote healthy eating in the students. We are dedicated to continue promoting healthy eating and student-approved menus.
And then finally, we are planning to introduce the after-school summer program, which will provide a third free meal to students, and details are being planned out as we speak. And then here are the staff that was promoted during this school year. Thank you for your time. Any questions?
Could you post again the grants?
Sir.
Okay, and then the meals served, I think breakfast, you had a,
Do you need me to go open?
okay.
So on the left-hand side for each one, the breakfast and lunch, that's like pre-COVID, and then the right with there is like the orange and yellow, and then the little green at the bottom. That's this current school.
Okay, questions from board members? Thank you very much, I think. Yes. Yes, Horfeld.
On the grants, do y'all go out and actively seek those, or is it SFE seeking the grants or the school district seeking the grants?
So the on-site team, so David, Thomas, and Visa, they applied for whatever grants possible. We asked for $1 million. This year they gave us 55,000. I know with COVID, I don't think they were giving away as much money this last year. You can see in the previous year we got 127. And then going into next school year, definitely going to continue to apply for whatever.
Well, no, yeah, that's it's commendable, and I thank y'all for actively seeking that out to sustain the food service program, and I want to say thank you, especially during when we were shut down for and everyone had to stay home for online and all that, and for partnering with transportation to get the meals out to the different areas across because one of them was near me, and I think it's great that we're able to feed our students, and because let's face it, there is a great hunger and equity, unfortunately, in our community, and we have students that they depend on at least the 2 meals that we're doing the 5 days out of the week and be able to run buses for those students to still be able to get it during a global pandemic when everything was shut down. A big thank you to y'all for being able to pull that off, and of course to transportation and the school district for being able to run the buses. And then the supper program, and I know we breezed through it real quick, but could you elaborate just a tad more on kind of what that is going to look at for I think it was the supper one, probably, I know it was towards the end.
Yes, so
Yes.
we will be implementing supper programs in some of the schools around the district. This will be a free meal for the students that are going to get their supper. It will be, we're still detailing out everything, but we are hoping to reach out more kids so that they can have an extra free meal during the school day. So we will be providing breakfast, lunch, and dinner for them.
That's amazing. Awesome. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Mr. Orfeld. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay, next item we have is item 9, consent agenda. Again, there's some minutes from various meetings. And then, again, we have some of the financial statements and then awarding bids and tax refunds. There's purchase orders. If there's an item that needs to be pulled out, or there's a question from a board member, this would be the time to have either that item separated from the rest of the consent agenda. Otherwise, again, one action will approve all items on the consent agenda. So while you're looking at the consent agenda, Dr. Rios, do you have a question?
No, it's not a question, sir. I just wanted to clarify item F3. It's buying of the vape sensors for the restrooms. We indicate that it's general fund, but it's in reality, it's the security money that we had left over from the TRE.
Okay, then with that change, again, Secretary Ms. Gonzalez, would you please, the donations, mention the donations?
From the TRE that we passed a few years back.
And again, while she's doing that, board members, if you could look at the minutes and make sure that everything's correct on them. And then, I'll ask again for another, if there's a question on any item. Ms. Gonzalez?
Okay, sir. Monetary donations to Garfield Elementary, $7.30, box top. Non-monetary donations to Garfield Elementary, a cut above, $30 gift set, Style Nails by Jesse, $35 nail service, Body Factory, $25 gift sets, Sirloin Stockade, 2 buffets, $29.40 value. Home Depot, Aqua Boost Bluetooth speaker, $29.97 value. HEB, 10 $10 gift cards. River City Donuts, 8 dozen donuts, $72 value. Debbie's Dog Grooming, 4 $20 dogs groom service. The Solution, $20 gift set haircut. Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, $40 gift card. The Patio Restaurant, buffet meal, $13.29 value. Villarreal's Express Lube, $50 oil change. Paco Madre, 5 $10 meal certificates. Don Marcelino's Restaurant, 2 $25 meal certificates. Lou's Wood Fire Pizza, 6 $10 gift certificates. Aguas de los Cielos, 90 drinks, $230 value. Chili's Restaurant, 10 $5 gift cards. La Casita Boutique, $20 gift certificate. Bella Cara Beauty Salon, $50 facial treatment. Airport Salon, $25 haircut. Cowboy Cleaners, $25 Visa gift card. The Cutting Edge Salon, $30 haircut gift certificate. Liz Overfelt, water bottles and sodas valued at $9.23. Donations to Early College High School, 4x8 graduation banner, $224 value. Juan Bacuna. Every middle school 8th grade donations from Buffalo Wings and Rings, 46 gift cards for 5-piece wings valued at $312.34. Ramada Inn, 1 night stay, $98.10. And 5 certificates for Cinco Nachos, $6.50 each. 5 breakfast buffet certificates, $10 each. 5 $10 gift certificates to Cripple Creek. Skillets Restaurant, $15 gift cards. Elsa's Creations, 1 cup and shirt valued at $24. The Bank and Trust, 2 gift certificates, 2 gift baskets valued at $40. Donations made to Ruben Chavita Elementary, Cesar Escamilla Law Office, breakfast tacos and sweet bread, value add, $300. FLOC food truck, pastries, $150 value. IHOP, pancakes, eggs, sausage, and bacon, $250 value. Donations made to Dr. Fermin Calderon Elementary, Cindy Reyes, two $10 Starbucks gift cards and one $10 Walmart gift card. Jasmine Estrada, two $10 Chick-fil-A gift cards. Claudia Juarez Dobbins, one $10 Amazon gift card. Lisa No, two $10 Xbox and PlayStation gift cards. Laura Bellon, one $10 McDonald's gift card. Elizabeth Reese, two $10 Roblox gift cards, two $10 Amazon gift cards. Deeds and teas and more. 5 boxes of donuts, 2 gallons of orange juice, cups and napkins, $4 value. Donation made to Irene Cardwell Elementary, Real Estate Solutions, 1 bike and 1 helmet, $100 value. Yay, I made it. My voice didn't go up. Thank you. Thank you to everybody.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. As always, we're grateful for individuals and businesses assisting with different donations throughout the district, and again, ultimately serving our students and staff. We thank you again for those generous donations. And now I'll call the question, is there an item that needs to be pulled out on consent agenda?
I just have questions about G3 and G4.
And G3 and G4. G3,
G3, consideration approved contract over 5,000 with Sandoval Construction for $192,000+ for demolition of South Garfield campus. I was looking through the minutes and trying to find it. Was 192 and change the amount that was on the RFP that we approved last month? Because I couldn't find it, so I just wanted to make sure.
Mr. Hengen?
Well, I think Ms. Johnston will probably have the answer. The question, Ms. Johnston, is the amount of 192,628, was that the amount that we approved when we approved the RFPs last month?
Yes, sir, I believe it was.
Okay. Thank you. And then on G4, contract over 5,000 with TASB, the amount of $15,700 for asbestos testing at Garfield. How come that's broken out separately? How come that's not rolled into what we're paying the contractor to demo the building?
In all cases, the school district takes care of the asbestos testing.
Okay, because I know last meeting, we didn't have, this wasn't there, so this came up in the last 30 days, so now it's 200-something thousand to demo Old Garfield, essentially.
Mr. Overfelt, that amount's gonna be higher, because once they determine that there's asbestos in the building, and we believe that there will be asbestos in the building, we will have to abate it. The 15,000 is only for the testing.
Right, so we will have to abate it. We, as in the contractor, will have to abate it, or the school district will have to abate it, but ultimately we're paying the contractor to abate it.
No, sir. The asbestos abatement is handled by an entirely different agency. For example, when we renovated the high school in all stages, the contractors at that point, there was 2 of them, they did the construction work. But anytime there was abatement that was required, the school district did that. That's been the case in every construction project. The contractor does no abatement whatsoever. any contractor, not just Sandoval Construction. The school district is responsible for turning over a building that is asbestos-free to the contractors.
Anyone else? Are we good?
Actually, we're looking at $300,000-400,000 at the total cost when everything's said and done. Because that abatement is not, we're gonna be way over 100.
Well, before we proceed with actually handing over the building in a contract, we will have the abatement cost, and then we'll bring it to the board. I don't know that it'll be 50,000 or 100,000. I have to determine how much asbestos is actually determined to be in the building.
Anyone else? Ms. Gonzalez? No. Then I'll call for the question. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion made by Mr. Contreras, second to the motion, Mr. Smith. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Russell,
Yes,
we have guests that drove into town for the food service renewal. The administration respectfully requests that item 13A be moved to the front.
13A. Any objection from board members? That'd be okay. 13A. Okay, we will go to 13A, Business and Finance. Consideration to approve the renewal of the food service management company contract with Southwest Food Service Excellence LLC. Amy Childress.
Good evening once again, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. RFP 20-15 was approved at the April 2020 regular Board of Trustee meeting. The contract with Southwest Food Service Excellence LLC as the food service management company commenced on July 1st, 2020, with 4 annual renewal terms of 1 year each upon mutual agreement between the district and the food service management company. The 2024-2025 school year will be the final renewal year for RFP 20-15. Included under separate cover are the Texas Department of Agricultural documents that are required for the renewal process, with a 3% increase to the administrative and management fees. The approval of the community eligibility provision for grade levels pre-K through 8th grade will continue during the 2021-2022 school year.
Questions from board members? Recommendation?
Sir, it is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the renewal of the food service management company contract with Southwest Food Service Excellence LLC.
For the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Amy Haynes, seconded by Mr. Orfeld. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, thank you, people. Okay, we're, again, Administration 10A. Consideration to approve the submission of application for the 2021-2022 ESSA Consolidated Federal E-Grant application for federal funding to the appropriate headquarter authority as presented. Items.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. The ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act, consolidated federal funding is being presented for approval so that we can submit to the headquartered authorities. You'll see that for the 2021-2022 school year, our Title I Part A, we are a Title I district, is for $3,327,430. Our Title II Part C, which funds our migrant program, is for $176,973. Our Title II Part A, which encompasses all our professional development, our training, our consultants for both teachers and administrators, is $444,020. Our Title III Part A LEP is our bilingual program for $175,499. And our Title IV Part A is one of two grants that we have been receiving for the past 2 years. This is our student support grant, and this is where we are able to purchase things like Google, Canvas, Zoom, extensions, anything that's going to help teachers and students to improve student achievement, for a total of $4,374,168. That is the funding that has been presented to us from the federal government for the 2021-2022 school year. Are there any questions?
Questions? No questions. Recommendation?
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the submittal of the ESSA Consolidated Federal E-Grant application in the amount of $4,374,168 for the funding of federal programs to the appropriated headquartered authority for the 2021-2022 school year as presented.
With the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Ms. Contreras, seconded by Ms. Gonzalez. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item we have is 10B, consideration to approve first and final reading of localized policy update affecting CW local naming schools. Sandra Hernandez.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. During the district's board policy review committee meeting held on June 15, 2021, we brought forth one local policy, CW local naming schools. The revision to the CW local policy provides clarifying text regarding the elementary and middle school naming process. The text that is proposed does not alter the scope of the process for naming schools. It solely clarifies that the opportunity for the community to submit nominations comes only when the board determines that a school is to be named after an individual. Are there any questions? You have a copy of the policy draft? Yes, sir.
Yes, Ms. Sorfeld.
And one, you'll have to excuse me for not being able to be there on the day that y'all reviewed this. It's been a rough last couple of weeks, me and the family. But the one that concerns me, since, you know, in honesty, I wrote, or really helped write this policy a couple of years ago, is the addition of whether the school will be named after an area or subdivision in which the facility is located. I flat out don't agree with the naming of a subdivision, naming a school after a subdivision or an area in which it is to be built or located, whether it's an elementary or a middle school building. And the reason I'm not okay with this is because of the next item that comes right after this, that would name this new elementary that we're going to go in and we're in the process of building. So I'm just curious as to why the sudden change just a week before, literally a week before 10C is put on the agenda. Why it had been okay for, the policy had been fine for when we renamed Baba Barrera out there at Laughlin. Why the sudden change?
Dr. Rios.
Mr. Overfeld, it's not a sudden change. I advised the board through a board advisory approximately a month ago of the administration's intention to recommend that the school be named Ceniza Hills Elementary. However, when I discussed the item with cabinet, we discussed the policy being clear. So the intent all along was to name the elementary Ceniza Hills Elementary, or to make that recommendation. The policy change came as a result of the discussion to make sure that everything was aligned. But as I advised the board approximately 1 month ago and asked for board input, I specifically mentioned that our intent was to recommend that the school be named Ceniza Hills Elementary, specifically because there's just a whole lot that is going on. And the last time that we suggested that we name a school after an individual, there was a whole lot of debate and dissension, dare I even say division amongst the board. There's just a lot of work that needs to be done. And I think that avoiding all that, all those distractions would be in the best interest of the district as a whole moving forward. And it would be in keeping with what we've named Buena Vista Elementary. But again, this is our recommendation. If the board is not willing to support administration in this area, that's the board's decision. We're not going to debate it from the administration's point of view. That was our only goal, is to eliminate distractions. Now, if the board as a whole feels different, then by all means, y'all should discuss it and provide us direction.
Okay, well, to that point, with the issue or that point that you brought up about it causing division and stuff like that, I know which one we're talking about, because I was president of the board when I asked administration to begin the process of renaming Garfield Elementary. And then we had a school board election, and it essentially got thrown in a box and put away and was never heard from again. And then the naming of Bobby Barrera Middle School, or Elementary, excuse me, that literally came out of nowhere. And I don't remember any dissension on that particular issue. There was one individual who came during public comments and asked us to keep it as just Laughlin Elementary School, but I don't remember any dissension amongst the 7 of us up here. The only one was the renaming of the idea of renaming Garfield, but again, a school board election happened and it got shelved. So, and respectfully, all the other schools are named after individuals. Buena Vista was built in, heck, I don't remember when it was, if it was the late 70s, early 80s, early 90s, whatever it is, but it's the only one that remains not named after really an individual. And I'll save my other arguments for when we take on item C.
Mr. Mason?
Yes, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, a couple things. I mean, from my perspective, I support administration's proposal to adjust the policy. I know that me as a board member, I'm not speaking for everyone else. I think that I spent a lot of energy over the past couple of years listening to comments about Lamar and about Irene Cardwell and so on and so forth. It adds too much political environment when you throw an individual's name into the hat for something so significant like a school for our kids. Therefore, I support myself personally keeping the name enormously generic. Ceniza Hills, Northside, Lakeview, whatever we want to do. I mean, I support Ceniza Hills. It makes sense. It's in that neighborhood, and we've called that neighborhood Ceniza Hills forever. It makes sense to me. End of discussion, not political. Life goes on, and it's not difficult. I don't have to invest any more time in it. So for those reasons, I support Ceniza Hills as a name, and I support the adjustment to the policy.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. I just want to ask one question, Sandra. It wouldn't, let's say in years to come, if that name would be requested to change to an individual, there would be a process, wouldn't there?
Correct, sir. If you look at the policy text on their guidelines, they're under numbers 1 and 2. So the board makes the determination whether to name a school after a local subdivision, if it was the elementary, or after an individual. It's the board that makes that determination. The text only specifies to clarify that when the board makes that decision, the process that goes out to the community is only when the board makes a decision to solicit names from the community, but not when they're going to make it, name it after a subdivision.
Okay.
That's the only
I
change.
think I've seen so many different things because I've been on the board. I think this is going to be 16 years, I think. But I remember like Marion Russell, that was changed, and that was awful to take away the name after it's given to an individual. But I don't want to leave it close. I think Mr. Orfeld has good intentions. That sometimes, we name schools, and then I know lately, for example, schools that have been named for different characters or different individuals have been changed because of, again, movements, within our country, and so I just want to leave it open where it would be able to turn that name to an individual that could be recognized by a committee or a group of people. Correct, Dr. Bruce?
Yes, sir. You could change the name from Ceniza Hills to any individual that you would like.
Anyone else? Mr. Contreras?
I can see it both ways. As far as keeping it kind of vague, Mr. Hills, and name it for an individual. However, personally, I think when we named Javier Barrera Elementary, I think there was a vetting process. And there was a committee put together, and I think Ms. Weber and myself were involved along with the six groups, and we went through the vetting process, and then we put it to voting, and at the end, that's the way we came up with the name, and this being the first brand new school in 20, 30 years, I think we should name it over somebody that was somebody strong, meaningful to the community. That's just my personal, and I think we should go through the same vetting process we did with the Hollywood. That's just me personally.
Well, again, it's up to the board, individual board members. Anyone else want to comment? Amy?
Honestly, I'm not, I hear, Mr. Contreras, okay, at the end of the day, my personal opinion is that, I want to try to stay away from the political statement, right? And as soon as you start pulling in individuals, it becomes a political statement. And that's the reason I would prefer just to keep it generic and go on. We've got a lot of things to worry about that's tied to the district that I feel are much more important. But if the rest of the board thinks that we need to form a committee and go chase a name to put on the billboard, I'm not going to say I'm opposing it, just I strongly support keeping it generic, so I don't invest a lot more time into the school than where we can focus on some important things that are on the campus and curriculum and those kind of things. I just think it's...
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Smith, and I agree. It does become very controversial when, we start submitting names and for whatever reason, it does become a distraction.
And I'll go back and echo the two statements tied to Mar and Irene Calderon. Both of them, all of us at this table, have invested time and energy over those two names in the past 12 months. And it was a waste of effort. I have way more, we all have more important things to worry about. And those are my points.
Thank you.
I'll
And
kill
did you want to
myself.
say-
Mr. Mesa, it's always gonna be political, no matter which way you look at it. It's always political around here, so my thing is that you go ahead and set the committee if you want, and I don't have, either way, it doesn't matter to me. I don't mind having a committee, and let's have a name that's worthy of, you know, the entitlement of the school, but the politicalness is always gonna be there, it's always here.
Is that what this board would like to do?
Policy first and then to talk about
Mhm. Okay, well, then, I think we heard the policies, the recommendation.
Yes. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the first and final reading of localized policy update affecting policy CW local naming schools.
With the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Mr. Smith, is there a second? Ms. Gonzalez, all those in favor? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Motion is approved unanimously.
Thank you.
We go to item 10C. Consideration to approve the naming of the new elementary school to Ceniza Hills Elementary School. In accordance with guidelines established under local policy CW local, consideration shall be given to naming schools the area or subdivision in which they are located, or after individuals who have made significant contributions to the educational program of the district or the community. Therefore, the board announces the intent to name the new elementary school Ceniza Hills Elementary School. Respectfully submitted, Raymond P. Mesa, Board President. Again, it is recommendation that the Board of Trustees, the naming of the new elementary school to Ceniza Hills Elementary School. Is there a motion? Motion made by Mr. Smith.
I have discussion.
Oh, discussion. Yes, Mr.
Again, I don't, I know, Mr. Smith, that you say there are things to better spend our time on, and I respect that. However, this is the first brand new elementary to be built in the last 20-something years, and to slap a generic name on it is, I think, is somewhat of an insult to some of the great individuals who've come through our district that it could be named after. And to counter the point of, well, we can come back and do it later. We come back and do it later, we have to spend money to change letterheads, the sign out in front of the school. So it goes in and begins to incur extra costs. I honestly don't know what the rush is to name it right now, because of the fact that it is, there's nothing out there but move dirt, and we're 2 years from it being completed. So I don't know what the rush is to go in and call it Ceniza Hills Elementary School. And again, I just don't see, I don't see the rush, and I think there are individuals, whether living or past, that deserve that name. And as far as it being political, you know, we're all elected officials for the state of Texas up here, and we're always in the crosshairs for whatever it may be. And if we're worried about, of all things, naming something, then maybe we need to reevaluate the whole reason of being a public elected official. Because let's face it, when it goes good, we don't get a clap on the back. It's only when stuff is going bad that you have people calling you complaining. So if we're worried about naming a school there, and that was one of the reasons I wrote the policy several years ago, was to go in and make it easier to understand and get stuff named, and to try and take some of the politics. You look at Northside ISD, and their policy is very specific. All high schools are named after Supreme Court justices. All middle schools are named after Texas Supreme Court justices, and all elementaries are named after individuals within Texas that have gone in and done something great within Texas. Scobie Middle School, McAuliffe, who were all individuals who were killed in space shuttle accidents. So I'm sorry, but no, I'm not cool with it. Everything else has a name to it. Buena Vista was named for an area in which it was being put in. And I was there. I remember sitting in the crowd when North Heights, or when Marion Russell was renamed North Heights. I saw that. I saw what y'all went through, Mr. Messick, as I sat in the crowd with some of the teachers and saw that what y'all had to struggle with. But I think that's part of our job up here is being tasked with taking care of different decisions there. And going back to the Lamar and Irene Cardwell, there was a lot more than just a name that was involved in that particular set of instances. There was much more than just a name that caused that to be a lot of heartache for us. So I know there's already a first and a second on the floor. I really wish it would be reconsidered and withdrawn and motioned to table it until a later time. But there is a first and second on the floor, and the board will vote as it wishes. But those are my thoughts. I am definitely a hard no against doing this right now when we're going to build a brand new elementary school and just name it something generic. I don't understand. I yield.
Thank you, Mr. Orfeld. And again, it just was disheartening to take a name away once it was given Marion Russell Middle School. Dr. Rios?
I don't disagree with anything that Mr. Overfeld said, but I do feel like I owe y'all an explanation because, I'm the one that brought it to the board. When we talked about renaming Garfield, at the time I talked to Mr. Overfeld, and at the time Marta Galindo had passed away, and I thought she was an incredible person, the only Texas State Teacher of the Year. And I thought it would be awesome to name a school after the only Texas State Teacher of the Year, the #1 teacher in the entire state, right here from Del Rio. And I thought that was incredible. And I got excited about renaming Garfield, the school that I had attended as an elementary student, to Marta Galindo Elementary. And I still think that would be awesome. But no sooner that I got excited about renaming that school Marta Galindo, and of course it wasn't going to be my doing, it was the board's decision, but I was excited about that opportunity. As soon as I got excited about it, other people had equal or greater items to be excited about. All of a sudden, people were excited about renaming the school Oscar San Miguel, which at the time I felt terrible because Oscar San Miguel had been a very influential person in my upbringing, being a paperboy at the News Herald, and just him being very kind to a whole lot of families in Chihuahua, including mine. And then I thought to myself, if I have to be between renaming Marta Galindo, which was my idea, and Oscar San Miguel, who was an incredible person, I was going to be disrespectful to one person or the other who wasn't going to be named, and I felt terrible. And then, as the conversations went out, there was local people who mentioned a couple other people in their experiences who they thought were also very worthy of naming the schools. And I couldn't disagree with them. And as I've heard from board members, it became emotional and divisive. And there's no reason why this won't happen again. Because there are a lot of people in our community that are worthy of having a school named after them. And I don't want the team of 8 to go through that again because, we have a whole lot more construction work. We have a whole lot more instructional work to do, and that's why I made this recommendation. But at the end, I certainly don't want to divide the board, and it's, you know, but that's my explanation for doing it. So it's like Mr. Overfeld said, there's a motion in a second, so time to vote.
Let me make one final clarity, because I didn't necessarily
Mr. Smith.
appreciate one of the things Mr. Felt was insinuating. I'm not saying you intentionally hurt my feelings, but I take this campus very, very serious. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm throwing out a generic, I agree with the generic name. That does not mean that I'm taking this as a generic project for clarity. I just think we've got, for all the reasons that Mr. Rios just mentioned, we've got things that we can do that are way more valuable.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. And I just want to, again, reassure everyone that this is not a request made by any board member. This is just, again, Dr. Rios mentioned this, and we have a motion made by Mr. Smith. Was there a second? No, I mean, at this point, I think,
Actually, we're saying, oh,
there's a motion and second to, again, the recommendation of the Board of Trustees, the naming of the new elementary school to Ceniza Hills Elementary School. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. All in favor, all those against? 1, 2, 3. Motion passes. Item 11A, consideration under curriculum instruction. 11A, consideration to approve a memorandum of understanding between Southwest Texas Junior College and San Felipe Duro CISD for the 2021-2022 school year. Ida Gomez.
President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. House Bill 5 Partnership Memorandum of Understanding is an operational plan for delivery of courses in college preparatory mathematics and English language arts to be offered to high school students during the 21-22 school year. Although the district is much higher than the state and the region in ensuring that our students are college and career military ready under CCMR, House Bill 3 mandates that we continue to monitor reading and math in 3rd grade and our CCMR credits at the high school senior level. Therefore, in addition to the other pathways where students can take dual credit, pass the TSI, pass their SATs, their ACTs, earn level 1 certifications, this is an additional situation or partnership that we have worked with Southwest Texas Junior College to facilitate. So basically what we would do is the parties have agreed to enter into a collaborative agreement to serve students who are not deemed college and career ready per House Bill 5, Section 10. Southwest Texas will provide the student learning outcomes for math and reading, writing courses along with the syllabus. San Felipe del Rio will provide the instructor, will identify the students who are still missing their CCMR credits as seniors, and we will provide textbooks for the courses. In order for the student to earn their high school credit CCMR, the students must successfully complete the course with a minimum grade of 70 as determined by the teacher of record. Again, this is a new memorandum of understanding that we have not had in the past. It is to ensure that our high school seniors do earn their CCMR credit before graduating. Are there any questions?
Any questions, board members? None? Recommendation?
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the superintendent of schools to sign the House Bill 5 Partnership Memorandum of Understanding with Southwest Texas Junior College as presented.
Right, the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mr. Smith, seconded by Amy Haynes. Amy Haynes, all those in favor? Motion is approved unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Technology and operations. Item 12, consideration and take possible action to approve the purchase of property and authorize, am I on that?
That was 11A, now we're going to 11B.
11B?
Yes.
I skipped that one, sorry. Consideration, 11B, consideration to approve a dual credit partnership agreement between Southwest Texas Junior College and the San Felipe Del CISD, school year 2021-2022. Ida Gomez.
Thank you, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. This is a recurring MOU partnership. This is for our dual credit courses at Del Rio High School so that our juniors and seniors can participate in dual credit. The memorandum of understanding is attached in your packet. However, I can answer any questions that you might have.
Questions from board members? No questions. Recommendation?
It is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the superintendent of schools to sign the dual credit partnership agreement with Southwest Texas Junior College as presented.
For the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mrs. Webb. Is there a second to the motion? Mr. Smith? All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Item 11C. In consideration to approve of the 2021-2022 memorandum of understanding between San Felipe Adoro CISD and Southwest Texas Junior College for the purpose of continuing a partnership with Early College High School. Ida Gomez.
Thank you, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. This agreement is between Southwest Texas Junior College and San Felipe Del Rio CISD and Early College High School. It outlines the duties and responsibilities of both our district and the junior college. A mutual beneficial arrangement between Southwest Texas Junior College and SFDR CISD Early College High School allows flexibility and creative response to the organizational, fiscal, and mission needs of all instruction. Collaborative planning, implementation, and continuous improvement of the Early College High School program, including the provision of faculty, staff and administration, curriculum development, training, and student services, provisions of rigorous college readiness, dual credit, and early college credit courses, financial collaboration that addresses costs of all partners and assists each in obtaining necessary funds from local, state, and federal, and private foundation sources to operate the program, and a vertical alignment of curriculum that focus that promotes a college-going culture by all parties, teachers, college faculty, counselors, and academic advisors. Again, this is a recurring MOU that we do work with the college and the district to ensure that our students at Early College High School can take their dual credit courses to earn their associates.
Questions from board members? No questions? Recommendation, please?
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the memorandum of understanding between San Felipe Del Rio CISD and Southwest Texas Junior College for the continuation of Early College High School dual credit program as presented.
For the recommendation from administration, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mr. Smith, seconded by Ms. Gonzalez. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we go to item 12A, technology and operations. Consider and take possible action to approve the purchase of the property and authorize the superintendent to execute all necessary documents described in purchase and sale agreement between Billy Whaley Jr. and the district. Funding source, 2020 bond proceeds, committed budget. Let's engage.
Good evening, once again, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, members of the board. This item here will allow the district to move forward with pulling three-phase power for daily operations at the new campus. The power source that the district would be pulling off of is located over at Los Campos subdivision, north of the school property. In order to obtain the needed electrical service, it is required that we obtain 2 small tracks, this being one of those tracks. And this particular item would be requesting the purchase or procurement of a 0.14 acre tract of land. The negotiated sale price is $33,000 and it appraised at $33,500. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I've got
Yes, Mr. Smith?
a question. Real quick. The, this ends up being a 30-foot easement?
Good evening. No, sir, it's 20-foot east.
So the easement that's already there is a 10-foot easement or no?
There's an existing 10-foot easement that straddles the properties, but, I guess the developers didn't do the due diligence, and some of the property owners already have constructed into those easements, and sometimes even past the actual property lines. So there's concrete pavement, driveways, roofs, like patio roofs, and those easements. So in order to minimize the impact of those properties, we're proposing a 20-foot strip.
So the city inspectors didn't do their job assuring that they didn't, and now we've got
There's
to buy
encroachments
extra
out there.
property to cover the need. That's kind of screwed.
So they'll still have their easement, right?
There's those, whatever they are, I'm guessing there's
I know
4
there's several.
properties there. Those 4 properties should have had a 10-foot easement on them, but he's saying that those have been encroached on, which would be against city ordinance. And therefore, we're paying for another half,
Dr. Rios?
50% more. Anyway, go ahead,
The-
Mr.
The encroachment is not, it's not necessarily on, against tract A or B. It's against the tracks where we will bring the power from all the way from Margarita Street. So it's not just, it's not just the properties that are adjacent to our property, because there's no construction there also. I believe the encroachment, the initial plan was to bring the power from Margarita Street
got it.
to,
Yeah.
so that property all
But
along
what-
the way, there's.
But what you're talking about is we're buying a 20-foot easement because he's saying that somebody is encroached already in their 10-foot of that 20-foot easement. So by design, this should have been a 30-foot easement because we're buying
I see what you're saying.
a 20-foot easement. Doing it because the encroachments on those, but anyway, I'm not gonna hold it up because of it, just frustrating.
Okay. I know we have some pictures here and it's hard to, I mean, it's brushy and we can't see, the land without being cleared. Anyone else?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Orfeld.
So you said it's phase 3, power level 3. I forget the name right off the bat. And I'm sorry that we don't have the screens. I can walk up and point. But is the green line the existing power line that's coming in? Does that represent an existing power line that's coming in that we're going to tap off of? Up there at the end of Quail Creek Drive where the orange one comes up and hits?
No, sir, that's, property lines.
Okay.
But it is parallel to that property line. Basically where Ceniza Hills development ends and, Los Campos area, there's an easement there, and that 3-phase power runs east-west along the south common line of Los Campos and the north property of Ceniza Hills.
Okay. And is it all buried line out there?
Overhead.
Overhead? Okay, so the idea is to come down Orange, come over on A, and then what, we're gonna bring it overhead all the way down to the building, or are we gonna go underground?
The intent is to come down north-south on the orange area track, then west on the Nixon property until we go into our property, and then we would go down the east property line inside the school district property all the way to the nearest to the building.
Okay. So my next question, because I know it shows in green, because this is an outdated Google map, because it doesn't show all the new development and Ataya Lane that's already existing out there. And those houses are going in. Is there not already power laid out for these subdivisions that have already been, the roads are there and the stuff is marked, because all of those are selling? We can't pull power from somewhere closer, which
That's not
drops.
Sorry, that's not three-phase power, not what we need. It's more for residential.
Okay.
You might not have three-phase, but you got a primary line running parallel off Agarita, and you can't go down, right there where the water tanks are and go in. I mean, because you do have a primary line that you can do a three-phase out there.
And we explored that possibility, but that would create a longer tract of land that would be required to get to our property, to get to the school district property. So this option that we're exploring is the shortest route.
They have to have an easement, 30-foot easement. Good question, Dr. Rios?
The easements are already there that AEP can use. It is a longer track, but the bigger problem with the longer track pulling the power, as it was explained by the AEP people, is that we would create a situation where blackouts will be more frequent because of power outages, was at least the time we had the discussion with AEP, what they indicated. And that's why the recommendation was made. If you want to avoid losing power more often than not, then coming from this side would be more beneficial. Is that?
Yes, sir. That's good.
Mr. Montero?
So you're coming up from I guess, the northern side, pulling power into it, not coming south on the primary line,
Mr. Chapa, back to Mr. Overfield's earlier question. Once we get the power into our property, is it gonna come to the school underground or still through poles?
The recommendations go with poles because it's easier to maintain.
Anyone else? Very good. Mr. Enge?
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees to approve the purchase of the property and authorize superintendent to execute all necessary documents described in the purchase and sales agreement between Billy Whaley Jr. and the district.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation from administration. Is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mr. Contreras, seconded by Mr. Smith. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 12B, consider and take possible action to approve the purchase of the property and authorize the superintendent to execute all necessary documents described in the purchase and sale agreement between Buena Vista Development Corporation and the district. Funding source, 2020 bond proceeds and committed budget. Mr. Enge?
Thank you, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, members of the board. This is the second half that deals with track A for the easement. The negotiated sales price is $21,000 and the property did appraise at $21,500. And it's going to be used for the same purpose in conjunction with the previous agenda item. Are there any questions?
So this is the item that is red?
I believe
No.
so. Yes, that's the one labeled track
Okay.
A.
Any questions from board members? Recommendation, please.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees to approve the purchase of the property and authorize the superintendent to execute all necessary documents described in the purchase and sales agreement between Buena Vista Development Corporation and the district.
Heard the recommendation. Is there a motion for approval? Mr. Smith, seconded by Ms. Gonzalez. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Item 12C, consider to approve a change order with Advantage USAA Incorporated for a credit of $268,210 for the district-wide roof repairs. Les Engage.
Good evening once again, President Messa, Dr. Rios, members of the board. This agenda item here is highlighted on in the facilities construction report. We do have a change order before proceeding with the non-TPO district-wide roof repairs. This change order proposes to remove the CTE building, sixth grade gymnasium, and add the high school ROTC, sixth grade kitchen, and Lamar Elementary School. Proposed change will generate a credit of $268,210, and the credit will be applied to additional roof repairs in the future.
Questions?
I
Mr.
got,
Smith?
I'm not totally following. So we changed gears, we decided not to do it, or is this related to item D?
Mr. Smith, do you have that slide list that you can call it back up?
Yes, sir.
But it is related to item B. So what we're saving on this project, on this contract, we're gonna add to the other contract. So if you notice right here, that's generating credit there, because we're not doing the CTE building. Instead, we're doing the Del Rio High School and the ROTC building. We're not doing Buena Vista and Early College. Instead, we're adding Lamar Elementary. Now, the reason we're doing this is, again, because when the rain came, that's where we saw that those were actually leaking a lot. There was great damage. So what we're gonna save here, because these projects that we're adding cost less, we're gonna add to the next change order. Well, it's the opposite.
Was that?
Yes, yeah. What we're saving on this one, we're adding to the other change order, which the other one's gonna be an increase in cost. Is that correct, Mr. Henge?
Yes, that is correct.
And none of this was insurance involved?
All of it is insurance.
Huh?
All of it is insurance.
Okay, and so insurance has no problem with us making these changes?
No, sir. They gave us an award for all the damages that they possibly could. Unfortunately, the award that they made is not enough to fix
Got it.
everything.
Okay. I'll swear on. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, we're good. Recommendation.
It is recommendation of the administration of the Board of Trustees approve the change order with Advantage USAA Incorporated.
With the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mr. Smith, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 12D, consideration to approve a change order with AAA AAA Roofing Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $180,000. Funding source, it says general funds, but the district-wide roof repairs, should that be insurance, Dr. Lewis?
No, sir. When the money is deposited from the insurance company, we deposit into the general fund.
Okay,
We
Right.
just have it earmarked for roof repairs.
okay.
Okay, President Messa, Dr. Rios, members of the board. This item here pertains to the TPO district-wide roof repairs. This is the second half of the roof repair project. The change order proposes adding a portion of the eighth grade building to the list of buildings. The proposed change will increase the contract amount by $180,000, which will be funded through the insurance savings from the other change orders Dr. Rios had just indicated. Are there any questions on this one?
Questions from board members? I think we understand. Any questions? No. Okay, recommendation.
It is recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the change order with AAA LLC in the amount not to exceed $180,000 for roof repairs at the eighth grade building.
With the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mr. Contreras, seconded by Mr. Smith. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Dr. Rios?
This will, Mr. Henge, can you hold on? This is Mr. Henge's last official duty in our district before the board. So this will be his last board meeting. And I wanted to one, chastise him for leaving, but more importantly, I want to thank him for all his leadership, all his work, and his commitment. He's going to be greatly missed, and we wish him well.
Mr. Hanke, would you stick around? Will you be here for a couple more minutes?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Not a problem.
Couple of updates. I just wanted to talk to you. And again, you've done so much for the district, and I really appreciate it, especially, with all the safeguards that we have in regard to training and equipment that was purchased to prevent any other wire transfers, illegal wire transfers. So we just attended SLI, and there's some information that I wanted to share with you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
And thanks.
Yeah, a couple of comments from my end. I mean, at the end of the day, we had this IT guy and Dr. Rios came to me and he says, "Look, what do you think about taking our IT guy and putting him in charge of facilities?" So I think he's the right guy for the job. And the main reason I did that is because you take a very detailed learning approach at everything that you do. You've done a stellar job with that. I really appreciate you being in the position. Wish you well and your family well in the next generation. Love it, Texas.
Thanks again. I think you deserve a round of applause.
I appreciate the kind words. It's been a journey over the last 6.5 years, and I want to thank everyone that I worked with, and obviously the board for the support that we've needed to be able to do all these projects. So it truly was a group effort, and I've learned a lot, and I'm a phone call away. It's really been a very difficult decision that we've made to move on. So, but I do appreciate all the support, and I can't speak enough to the, how I've seen things come over the last 6.5 years, from technology to operations to new construction, and a lot of good things going on in the district, and that's going to continue. So, I do appreciate the time.
Thank you again. This was an incredible year, and you did so much, to make sure that we had our students connected and everything else that you did. It was tremendous. Again, thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to item 13B. Business and Finance, consideration to approve the 2021-2022 district official budget. Amy Childress. And again, that is one of our handouts.
Yes, good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, members of the board. Yes, you should have received an updated board memo on this item. The 2021-2022 budget was prepared in a timely manner before June 20th, and the notice of public meeting to discuss budget and proposed tax rate was published in the 8:30 Times on June 9th, 2021, and the Uvalde Leader News on June 10th, 2021. The 2021-22 general fund is budgeted with estimated revenue of $95,948,383 and expenditures of $106,714,102. The 2021-22 debt service is budgeted with estimated revenue of $1,624,586 and expenditures of $1,658,500. The 2021-22 food service budget has estimated revenue of $5,284,524 with estimated expenditures of $5,113,190. The district official budget will be posted on the district financial transparency webpage Tuesday, June 22nd, 2021.
Question from board members?
I don't have any
Just-
questions. I'm just gonna make a statement. It's not, and this is on me, it's not on you. I haven't been as tight in this process as I should, and I've got I've got, actually too many questions. I might have just abstained from the vote, to put it that way. I've got, too large of a gap in my mind to understand, so
Amy, I want to ask the critical question that I always ask. Fund balance, can you reassure me that we have that amount?
Yes, sir. We will be presenting ending fund balance on Thursday.
Okay, but I see on the last page,
Yes, so on the executive, yes, that was still as of the proposed, as of 8/31, because that technically was still our fiscal year until you adopt this budget. But those estimated balances will change because they will reflect that fund balance as of 6/30, which we will have on Thursday.
so that will change. on
Yes, sir.
Thursday.
Those amounts will be
Okay.
updated.
And I'm sure it will change to the positive.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Recommendation, please.
Sir. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approves the 2021-2022 district official budget, which includes the general fund budget, the debt service budget, and the food service budget.
Thank you very much. You've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Ms. Contreras, seconded by Mr. Orfeld. All those in favor? Motion carries by 6. Any abstentions?
yeah, abstain.
Any abstain? 1 abstention. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Again, I want to thank all the department for all the fine work they do. And again, especially Amy. This was a great year. And again, thank you for all of your efforts and all the hard work. Go to item 14A, consideration human resource, discussion and possible action to approve employee job descriptions and evaluation forms. Chief of Police, Electrician Apprentice, Assistant Athletic Director, Maintenance Foreman, Aide Garcia.
Yes, good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, members of the board. In your packet, you have the copy of these job descriptions. The first one is Chief of Police. The only change we have in this packet is to give the incumbent an opportunity to complete these courses within 1 year of employment. This will give the district a larger pool of viable candidates that we can interview. The next one, is there questions on that or?
Yes, well, I'm assuming there will be. Mr. Mesa.
Okay.
Yes, Dr. Rios?
No, I think there's questions.
Oh, yes, Ms.
Questions
Webb.
or comments or combination thereof. As I was reading the descriptors or the descriptions for the chief of police, it appears to me that we're not just looking for a district chief of police, but we're also looking for an emergency operations manager. Because after I looked at the descriptors here, and I also looked at other ISDs, their ISDs for chief of police indicate chief of police, not emergency operation managers. And I think that's why we have all the NIMS classes that are indicated in here. And then as I continue to look into it, when I look at the special knowledge and skills, there's nothing in here that indicates that our chief needs to be knowledgeable in utilizing multiple computer platforms, reports. There's nothing indicating that he is capable of doing that. The other thing that I noticed when I looked at to the law enforcement and emergency/emergency management, number 1 stated, ensures enforcement of all laws, including municipal ordinance, county ordinance, but we don't include juvenile law in there. Juvenile law is totally different from the other laws. So we have to include it because we're working with juvenile students. And then when I look at 3, 4, and 5, those are all emergency operation items. So I was looking at the impression if other duties as assigned, that would be under other duties as assigned. You will be responsible for also looking at the emergency operations part of the district. Because what I failed to see under that section, under law enforcement, I don't see the chief of police serving as the district liaison to state and local law enforcement agencies, which they should, because they're representing the district as the chief of police. And the same way as participating in committees and other task forces, as far as representing the district. So, to me, and this is just my opinion, 3, 4, and 5 should go under other duties as assigned, as well as, when you look under safety, number 14 and 15, it says assist principals with the development and implementation of the campus emergency operations plan. If you have the chief of police assisting the principals with their emergency operations plan, that's another duty as assigned, other than what the chief of police is doing. My concern with some of these items is if the chief of police is addressing a hazardous spill, let's say at Robin Chavita, there's a hazardous spill that deals with a EOP or emergency management. Yet we have a shooting at the high school. Okay, you have one person. Where is he gonna go? What is his job at that particular time? Is he gonna attend and take care of the shooting? Or is he going to be dealing with the emergency operations? Those are things that come to mind as I look at the responsibilities and duties of district chief of police in combination with an emergency management officer. And that might be a reason that we are having difficulty also finding a qualified chief of police. So, I mean, those are some of the things that I looked at, and if you look on 22, I think, if you look at 22, I don't really care for the word et cetera in there, because et cetera doesn't tell me anything. It says maintains property, room for storage weapons, contraband, et cetera. What is the et cetera? Is it evidence? Is the property found, or other property confiscated? What does the et cetera mean? You know, I think we need to be more specific in that area. So, but again, that's my opinion. I don't know how other board members feel about it. But to me, this is a very critical position within our district, especially when they are in charge of all the police officers, the security officers, and they have to make sure that they know everything that's going on within the district and the district police force. So,
Dr.
that's what it
Rios?
is.
The last comment she made about the et cetera, it would refer to anything that's confiscated by the police. That's why that word is there. And to list everything that possibly would be confiscated would just make this job description very long. But to the point of the emergency management, we used to have an emergency manager for the district. And at the same time, we hired the new chief of police. And there was a whole lot of discussion about who would be the emergency manager should an incident occur. And after we discussed it tremendously, we decided that the chief of police would be the emergency management coordinator for the district, and that we would provide appropriate training. It just involves the command of a lot of individuals in the system. So mainly the police officers, who would be the ones responding and coordinating with other police officers. And we had a whole lot of exercises, planned it a lot, and it worked out. Now, you mentioned, you know, what would he do if there was some kind of spill near Calderon, I guess where the railroad track happens, at the same time that there's a shooting going on. Well, we can't possibly envision something like that happening. I'm sure that the individual would be qualified to be able to divide their forces and be able to delegate some of that without delegating the responsibility. But again, when we were doing the job description, there was a lot of concern about shootings, and who would be the most adequate person to manage that situation. And that's why we put the duties under the chief of police. Since then, the exercises that were held and the coordination that happened with the other law enforcement agencies, including FBI and local police, they were solid, and it worked really well. Our only purpose in bringing the job description today is not to look at the entire job description, because depending on who's on the board, you know, the views are gonna change. And we're willing to review the job description all over again. I strongly recommend that we keep the crisis management under the chief of police. And if you like, Ms. Webb, our chief human resource officer can review all the changes that you recommended and consider changing the job description. But again, our only purpose today is, out of the 15 applicants right now, we would only interview one out of the 15 before we make a recommendation. I really believe that it's imperative that I make a recommendation for chief of police by July. We have to get ready for this coming school year. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. Unfortunately, students were left at home unsupervised for about 15 months, particularly at the secondary level. The number of students that returned, we saw some activity that's concerning, and we just need to be ready for it. So again, our only purpose today is to be able to interview more candidates, to make the best recommendation to the district. Everything else that you mentioned, absolutely, we can sit down and talk about it, but we do have to make a recommendation as to the new chief of police very soon. And legally, by district standards, I shouldn't interview anybody that's not qualified. And if that's the case, then I only have one candidate. So that's why we're bringing it. But again, we can definitely go look at it again and bring it back and discuss it more. I just really believe that the emergency manager should remain with the chief of police, just because we've had so much success with it here the last couple of years.
No, I'm not saying that he shouldn't review or work with that entity, but I did have a concern where he's having to assist principals reviewing their EOPs and things of that nature, when I'm also looking at other job descriptions where we're asking for assistance to, like an assistant for maintenance, an assistant for the athletic director, and yet we have a chief of police job description, and yet we're putting all of these other entities in there when his main job would be to secure the district. And I know the other circumstances that you're mentioning, like the one that we had recently, not too long ago, with the mom calling and everything else. So those are the things that concern me when he's involved in helping me as a principal to make my EOP. You know, that's concerning.
Anyone else? Mr. Smith?
Yeah, just to, I'm sorry. For clarity, I think what, I mean, I'm not saying I disagree with Ms. Webb at all, because I think she's got some really nice points. I think what you're saying, Mr. Rios, is that you need a tool before we leave today in order to just continue in the recruiting process, and then get something formal back to Ms. Webb to revisit the overall job description at a later date. Is that really what we're trying to do? Yes. Sorry, Ms.
Amy?
I'm not sure, but I thought about 6 years back, Chief Police Haynes did that job. He was emergency, if I'm not mistaken. Just correct me. I'm not sure. I thought he was, but I thought he was doing a little bit of that work as well.
He was, ma'am. It just wasn't formalized in the job description or anything else,
Yeah.
but back then, yes, ma'am.
That's what he was doing, right? Okay, thanks.
Anyone else?
I guess to answer Amy's with Mr. Haynes, because Chief Haynes and I worked very closely together. Anytime we needed something, we would always call each other about different things. But he was never there working with the principals to develop an EOP. But I understand what Dr. Rios is saying, and I don't mind getting together with him later, and I understand the urgency of the situation as well.
Mr. Contreras?
I just think it should be, I mean, I understand that the emergency management coordinator should be under the chief of police, but it should be a totally different individual. The chief of police, you know, handle the law enforcement part, you know, as far as the district, but then let's say there's a storm, something happens outside that they need to coordinate with the city. you know, I don't think the chief of police is gonna have that much time to be able to do that. So I just think that the emergency management coordinator should be a separate individual under the chief of police. That's just.
And again, I guess, Dr. Rios, I'm sure that there will be some delegation in case, you know, what the scenario that Mrs. Webb described, for example, you know, something major happening in two different areas where he would delegate someone to, you know, for him to go to the more severe, you know, incident and address that. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I also agree with Mr. Quintel. We could delegate the emergency management coordination to one of the lieutenants or sergeants in this case.
So would it be possible then for Mrs. Webb to sit and perhaps put some more wording into the job description?
Yes, I would recommend that, that we hire the chief of police and that person would be part of the discussion because at the end, you know, they would have some insight. So maybe all three of them could have a conversation and come up with a document that more clearly articulates what's been discussed today.
Okay, then that sounds like it. Okay. All right. Then we'll do that. So, again, we're doing the job descriptions and evaluation forms. And the recommendation.
So we have the next job description is the electrician apprentice. And this one, it's one that was recommended by TASB because we need to reclassify an employee to this position so it could be properly assigned to his license that he holds. And then the other two job description is your assistant athletic director and the maintenance foreman position that we mentioned in the budget.
Any questions on those? Good. Okay, recommendation.
It is a recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve the employee job descriptions, evaluation forms, and revised job classification, and evaluation forms as discussed.
At the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mr. Smith, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to go into closed session pursuant to 551.074 and 551.071. Consideration to approve personnel report to include new hires, district vacancies, retirements, resignations. Discussion to approve the position of assistant principal at Del Rio High School. Discussion to approve the position of counselor for Blended Academy. Discussion to approve the position of help interim counselor for Dr. Fermin Calderon. Discussion to approve the position of help intern counselor for Lamar Elementary. Discussion to approve the position of counselor for help intern counselor for North Heights Elementary. Discussion to approve the position of help intern counselor for Robert Bobby Barrera Elementary STEM Magnet. Discussion to approve the position of counselor for help intern counselor for Ruben Chavita. Discussion to approve the position of bilingual strategist for Ruben Chavita Elementary. Discussion to approve the position of diagnostician for special ed department. Discussion to approve the position of diagnostician for special education department. The time is 8:19 p.m. We're now in closed session. Okay, the time is 9:07 p.m. No action was taken in executive. We're down to item 18A. Consideration to approve personnel report to include the following: new hires, district vacancies, retirements. Aide Garcia.
Yes, good evening again. It is the recommendation of administration for the Board of Trustees to approve the resignation, vacancies, and following new personnel. Third grade bilingual teacher for Buena Vista Elementary, Denise Gomez. First grade teacher for Dr. Fermin Calderon Elementary, Jocelyn Oviedo Torres. Fourth grade teacher for Garfield Elementary, Elizabeth Wilson. Fourth grade teacher for North Heights Elementary, Dana Bay Valle. Music teacher for North Heights Elementary, Caitlin Champion. Third grade bilingual teacher for Ruben Chavira Elementary, Guadalupe Rangel. Fifth grade bilingual teacher for Ruben Chavira Elementary, Monica Soto. ELA teacher for Blended Academy, Ariel Falcon. And special education content mastery teacher for Del Rio High School, Alfonso Calderon.
For the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mr. Smith, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Want to make a side note again, Ms. Gonzalez. Mr. Contreras is not here right now. Consideration to approve the position of assistant principal at Del Rio High School at De Garcia.
It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Mr. Robert Norton for assistant principal at Del Rio High School.
With the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mr. Smith, seconded by Mrs. Webb. All those in favor? Motion carries. Item C, consideration to approve the position of counselor for Blended Academy at De Garcia.
And that one was tabled. That one's being tabled for the counselor at Blended Academy. It was a reassignment.
It's gonna take, or, I'm sorry, it's tabled indefinitely because we just reassigned somebody.
Oh, okay. So that's not a vacancy, okay. Item D, consideration to approve the position of help intern counselor for Dr. Fermin Calderon.
It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Mr. Alexander Menchaca for help counselor at Calderon Elementary.
With the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mr. Smith, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Consideration to approve the position of help intern counselor for Lamar Elementary.
It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Mrs. Erica Antonia Barrera for interim counselor at Lamar Elementary.
With the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mrs. Webb, seconded by Mr. Smith. All those in favor? Motion carries. Consideration to approve the position of counselor for help intern counselor for North Heights Elementary School.
It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Luisa Duran for the position of help intern counselor at North Heights Elementary.
With the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Mr. Smith, seconded by Mr. Overfelt. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item G, consideration to approve the position of help intern counselor for Robert Bobby Barrera Elementary STEM Magnet at De Garcia.
It is a recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Mr. Hugo Tarango for the position of help intern counselor for Robert Bobby Barrera Elementary.
Okay, motion made by, thank you very much, Mrs. Webb, seconded by Mr. Smith. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item H, consideration to approve the position of counselor for help intern counselor for Ruben Chavira Elementary.
It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Sandra Venegas for the position of help intern counselor for Ruben Chavira Elementary.
With the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion by Mr. Smith, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor? Motion carries. Item I, consideration to approve the position of bilingual strategist for Ruben Chavira Elementary.
It is a recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Lourdes McClellan for bilingual ESL strategist at Ruben Chavira Elementary.
For the recommendation, motion made by Mrs. Webb, seconded by Mr. Smith. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item J, consideration to approve the position of diagnostician for Special Education Department.
It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Patricia Haffey for the position of diagnostician for the Special Education Department.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mr. Orfeld, seconded by Mrs. Webb. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item K, consideration to approve the position of diagnostician for Special Ed Department.
It is a recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Christina Hernandez for the position of a diagnostician for the Special Education Department.
At the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Amy Hayes, seconded by Mrs. Webb. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
There being no other items on the agenda, is there a motion for adjournment? Motion made by Amy Hayes, seconded by Mr. Orfeld. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. We're adjourned. Thank you and good night, everyone. Thank you for all the